Yo, what's up? Today we are pitting up the two poster boys of The Walking Dead with Lee Everett from 2012's Telltales The Walking Dead video game versus Rick Grimes from AMC's The Walking Dead TV show. In this fight, we will have episode for Lee versus Season 5 Rick. First up, we have Rick Grimes. Rick Grimes was your average policeman father. With a loving wife and young son, but one day that all changed, well, for a bit. So you see, Rick was put into a coma, which left him out for a couple days. When he had woke up, he found out nobody was in the hospital where he stayed, so Rick had to single-handedly deal with this new apocalypse. Soon he would be found by a man named Morgan and would later make his way to Atlanta, where he did find his wife and child. But do not think for a second that Rick is your average Joe. For now, let's go over Rick's powers and weaknesses. Rick has proven that he had above-human strength. Rick can easily kill any walker with his bare hands, and is trained in combat due to him being a police officer. In some of Rick's many fights, you can see the damage that Rick does to his opponents even before. Rick's primaveral for Rick's strength. Rick can effortlessly throw around his opponents, and is powerful enough to do facial damage after only a couple of hits. Rick has never really shown any feats of speed, but I'd have to say Rick is fit for a 39-year-old, so in his shape I say Rick has average speed. Rick isn't the most intelligent person, however. Rick is able to lead his group to Rick is exceptional in teamwork, and is a very reliable person. Overall, Rick is a very hard-working leader that strives to get his survivors to a safe place and won't stop at anything to do so. Rick is very durable, is able to take punches from bigger and stronger people, sometimes not be phased. Rick can also take gunfire and break bones. With the version of Rick I am using, Rick is a very ruthless version of his old self that can be a good thing, but yet a bad one too. Rick's anger does him good with adrenaline, but with Rick's anger he tends to mess up on some things which might not be good for his fight against Lee. Rick is physically strong. Rick has average speed. Rick is a very capable leader. Rick is a great fighter, trained by being a police officer, can take punches and gunshot, but can be reckless at times. Next up we have Lee Everett. Lee was a professor at UGA teaching history, but one day Lee had found his wife cheating on him with a senator. Lee then lost it and beat the man to death. After that, Lee was a convicted murderer and was on his way to prison after speaking with the officer in the police car for a while. Walker was in the middle of the road. The police officer hit the walker and had lost control of the cop car. Lee was able to survive, but unfortunately the police officer didn't. After Lee had uncuffed himself, he had found out that the dead officer was now alive and wanted to kill him. After dealing with the walker, Lee came across a house with nobody inside. Then he met an 8-year-old girl named Clement. No, all he does is look after her no matter what. Lee is much more than a regular dude. Lee has exceptional strength, which has shown that many times. Some of his strength feats include being able to overpower Kenny, Andy, and Vernon. Lee has also beaten Andy, to the point of his face being very damaged. Lee is also able to hold doors shut with multiple Walker pushing it. Lee can also kill Walker with his bare hands and with one hit from weapons. Lee can lift up 250-pound walkers and throw them like it's nothing. Lee has a few feats for speed, including his fights with Kenny, And Molly, Lee was able to dodge and counterattack both of them depending on your QT's speed. Lee, of course, is very smart due to him being a professor at UGA for 6 years. Although Lee is booked smartly, is also a quick thinker, being able to make hard decisions within. Second, San Lee is a good leader. As of episode for Lee had not shown much. Durability is best feat has to be Lee surviving a car crash with only hurting his leg. Depending of your Lee can be merciful, which at time would not be good. Lee also does not try to fight, but he will if he has to. Lee is very physically strong, has above average speed, is very intelligent, has normal durability, can be merciful at times. As Lee hops over the fence, he sees someone in the corner of his eye. Lee then chases the figure after Lee catches him. Lee is greeted with a gun to his face. Rick points his gun at Lee and demands for Lee to stand down. Lee, however, does not stand down and tells Rick to stop messing with him and asks where Clementine is. Of course, Rick does not know what Lee is talking about, but then a walker sneaks up on Rick. After the walker is dealt with, Lee charges after Rick's gun. Rick sees Lee in the corner of his eye. Rick aims his gun but can shoot because Lee has a hold of Rick's gun. They wrestle around with it for a bit, and then the gun is thrown. Lee darts for Ethan. Rick takes him down. Rick that punches Lee in the face for times, then Lee backhands Rick, then Lee does some of his own ground and pound and punches Rick. As they move around, Rick is able to grab a rock and smashes it on the side of Lee's face. Lee is down, then Rick goes for his gun before he can. Lee is able to shove Rick. Rick then sees Lee going for his gun, but it's too late. Lee already has the gun aimed and shoots, and then it's over. The reason I say Lee wins is because in this scenario, I think Lee's superior strength and speed is to beat Rick. Sure, Rick is a very skilled fighter, but Season 5 Rick is very reckless and makes bad decisions. So I say since Lee is superior in many ways is the reason why he wins. But this isn't the end. If you want to see Lee and Kenny beast Rick and Shane, make sure to like the video, and if this video get 10 likes, the rematch will happen. But for now, let's see the next episode's fighters. Next time on Fictional Fight Club.